This is an EU-funded project.
International Women's Day, which takes place on March the 8th, is a special day for celebrating the achievements and progress of women. It's celebrated by both men and women, but it's also a special day for remembering some of the problems that women still face. My name is Adele Jones. I'm Professor of Social Work, formerly from the University of the West Indies at Trinidad. I now work at the University of Huddersfield in the UK. And I'm here to tell you about a particular project that we are going to be launching on International Women's Day in Barbados and Grenada. The project is funded by the European Union and it's called Ni3. We take our title from the fact that 1 in 3 women and girls will experience sexual or physical violence in their lifetime. We believe that this statistic is not inevitable and that we should all be working towards this being none in 3. And if you think that figure is high, imagine the number of children who are impacted by violence, who see violence every day, either in their families, in their communities, and in their schools. Children who grow up in violent homes are more likely to become violent adults. They're more likely to have problems with alcohol, with drug abuse, with criminal offending. They're more likely to experience a whole range of problems. So International Women's Day this year marks the start of a project that we hope will benefit not only women and men too, but also children. Ni3 has 5 strands of activity. The first one is that we'll be carrying out research with women in especially vulnerable circumstances. For example, women who are disabled and experience domestic violence, women who are living with HIV and experiencing domestic violence. Those are just some of the groups that we hope to be able to do work with. We'll also be doing research with men and boys, because men too are sometimes victims of violence, although we know they're not affected to the same extent, but they also have a right to be listened to be heard, and we need to find out their views about what action we can take. A third strand will be to take these research findings and to develop some training materials which can be made available to everybody who needs access to training. Perhaps the most important and innovative part of our project is that we plan to create some computer games for use as an education tool in schools. We know that computer games can encourage children to develop aggressive behaviors, some of the violent games. How would it be if we had computer games that encouraged children to solve problems without violence, that encouraged empathy and caring and compassion? Our plan is to try to create games and to test them out in schools in Barbados and Grenada and to see if it makes a difference to children's attitudes. The last part of our activity will focus around a social media campaign which we call Ni3, which requires essentially all of us, everybody, to stand up and take action against domestic violence, even if that action is simply talking out about it. And we would like you to join us in doing that. And I just want to finish by reading something to you. That evening, Winston came home to change before going out for the evening. I knew he was going to meet his lover. I confronted him. I was so angry that I forgot the children were within earshot. We had an almighty row, with me shouting and choking on my anger at the same time. He slapped me across my face, and as it echoed, I suddenly saw Paul make a lunge at Winston. Before I could do anything, he was laying into Paul. I thought he was going to kill him. I tried to get between with no luck as he shoved me aside. He suddenly stopped and left the house. I knew he would not be back that evening. As I cleaned my eldest son's face from the blood, I thought, what the hell was I doing? My children were important to me, but I could not protect them. What was I trying to prove by staying with this man? Paul was now at an age where he always tried to protect me. This means that he often felt his father's fists. I should be able to protect him. I felt that I was nothing but a selfish, pathetic mother, and I hated myself. I hated my weakness. I hated the fact that I still loved this brutal man, and I hated my inability to protect my children. That reading is actually from my own mother's life story. Now, I grew up with domestic violence, and I'm breaking a bit of a taboo by talking about something so personal. But if Ni3 means anything, it means that we are able to talk about the things that personally affect us when it comes to domestic violence. I cannot ask everybody out there to make a stand and talk about domestic violence if I am not prepared to talk about my own experiences of domestic violence and why it matters to me. There is no shame in being the victim of domestic violence. The shame is when we as societies stand back and do nothing. Thank you for listening.